Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to League of Europe Division 5 once again with myself, Killer Blue 295, and the delightful, wonderful QVR Packer. We're here for round 2 at France, Circuit Paul Ricard in Le Castellet in south of France, and it's well, I'll let Packer introduce himself first. Packer, how are you?
I'm doing all right so far on this lovely Saturday afternoon for me, evening for most of the people watching here for what is going to be the second round of the League of Europe Season 7 calendar. So excited to get into this one after an eventful first round.
Yes, Packer lives in Eagle Land in America, so it's still in the afternoon, but round 2. Round 1 wasn't too bad, was it? It was quite entertaining. I think both pre-season and round 1 have had their dreary moments, but they've also produced some cracking battling. And the end result of that is NL Energetics leads the championship with the victory from second on the grid. He has the full maximum 25 points. Slumpcon in the Haas is in second, he's in 18. Marcy for Mercedes was the third podium sitter. The Hungarian has 15 points. Swip has 12. Ghost Recon, the reserve driver, has 10. 8 for Axel Cruz, 7. How do you pronounce that? Jav has 6, Jamie has 5, Ben Scott has 4, Jess Gamer has 3, Alex Eliot has 2, Rickia has 1, Ibo, Harry, Reardon, Joseph, Ocon, Corrupt, Emperor, and Bellon all failed to score last week. And ERS Major, who is full-time in the AlphaTauri, makes his Season 7 debut tonight after missing last week. Looks like we've got a dry session, at least for now. It's quite cloudy overhead. And we've got an Alpine, I think that is. It's going to be the first driver out on track. It's going to be Ben Scott. And that was the case last week. I don't know if you remember, Packer. We had both Alpines out on track first. And so it is once again.
Yeah, I remember from last session, well, just in general, well, throughout most of the session, they were kind of right next to each other on track throughout, giving each other a little bit of slipstream, but a few mistakes, I think, into their Imola weekend didn't exactly go to plan. For the two Alpine boys, they qualified high up and then only scoring, 4 points between the two of them, and all 4 came from Ben Scott in P9 last week. So not exactly the best weekend for the two Alpine boys, but I'm sure they're looking forward to something a little bit higher up the order when it comes race time.
Yeah, the race did not go to plan for them at all. I think Ben Scott's race just went from bad to worse after he first went soft. His opening pit stop, which kind of boxed him into a 2-stop when everyone else left their strategy options quite open. And then he got into a couple of blunders. He had an incident at the Variante Alta with whoever it was. The driver it was with escapes me, but it sent him tumbling down the order. He didn't really recover too well. Harry didn't have the best race either, but they've both clearly got cracking qualifying pace, so we'll keep an eye on them for to have a look at the top of the timings today. How do you rate this track, Pack? I mean, we've just been through it in D1 to varying and low levels of success. But what's your feelings on this Paul Ricard track as Ben Scott's just gearing up here?
He might have just invalidated this and next, but we'll have to watch out and see if that was the case. But yeah, Circuit Paul Ricard, this specific layout, it can be quite challenging. Ben Scott just starting his lap here as he heads into the first corner. Ghost Recon kind of in the way there, but not really. Yeah, it can be quite difficult. A lot of off-cambered corners, a lot of difficult corners, really, even though the circuit overall looks quite flat, and there are a decent amount of overtaking opportunities into turn 1, down into the chicane. Turn 8 and 9 can be a very nice place to battle, especially since you'll pick up massive DRS trains. At least there was, the entire field was in a DRS train, really, until the first people came into the pit lane. You can fight all the way through Sector 3 as well, so it's very nice to battle with other people, but it's going to be difficult for some of these drivers to navigate through the circuit, especially the technical bit in Sector 3, and then also with their tire wear and strategy.
Yeah, tyre temperatures as well will be an issue for anyone running maximum pressures, and you mentioned those off-camber corners, really awkward, cumbersome to drive. We're with Ben Scott now coming through Sector 3. This corner, turn 11, very tricky, sort of a double apex. You put the car in, let it run wide, and then bring it back in again. And here, you can take a really high line. You take so many lines through some of these corners. Turn 12 there, the track kinks left 13, and then you've got the never-ending turn 14. Doesn't stray too close to the apex. Takes a nice late apex there, Ben Scott. and then uses the curb last corner. That's not something you want to do particularly. You want to just clip that curb, but you don't want to run over it too much. You'll unsettle the car. Stays to the far left and short front line. It's a 30.7, so not spectacular. I'm sure we'll see drivers in the low 130s by the end of the session. We'll head to Harry, who is Ben Scott's teammate, and he's also now just finishing his lap. He's going to be the second man to complete a lap time. Not invalid, easy to corner cut here, but neither of the Alpines have done it so far. It's a 30.8 for Harry, a tenth, less than a tenth off his teammate. We've got a Jab coming across the line now. That's not a competitive lap time, that's a 38.1, and a couple more coming across the line. That's Rick is starting his lap. We've got an Alpha Tauri of ERS Majors just about to finish, but he's on the medium tyre. He does a 32.4, sub 1.6 seconds off Harry, so he will need to go out on the set of softs, I should think. But where do you think we're going to be looking at pole for Packer? I say a low 30 is probably the ballpark. Currently we're at 30.7, Jamie and Ridden popping in with 31 to 32s. But where do you think the end game is here?
Based off of last week, the field was quite spread out around towards the back and middle sorts of the field, but we did get some really competitive times and close gaps up at the front. It was quite interesting, actually, once we got to the back end of qualifying. I'm not entirely sure if we have last week's polls that are here, but looks like already, once again, the two Alpines already separated by just around a tenth of a second here. So looking pretty strong once again for the Alpine duo. Jamie Matt has fitted themselves into P3 with Jordan on that second row on the medium tires. Interestingly enough, Jess Gamer in P5 starting off that third row so far. Just looking for anyone on the left. There's a Haas coming in line, but that's going to be Slumpcon. Just starting a lap. A few people heading into the pit lane, but I think the next driver is going to be the Alfa Romeo of Ghost Recon on the mediums, who's unfortunately invalid.
Yeah, Ghost Recon he threatened really good. He had good pace at USA in pre-season, didn't he? And then kind of had to fight the race with one hand behind his back, coming through from last place because he didn't set a lap time in that session. And then he had a similar dilemma where he kind of underperformed in qualifying last week and ended up cutting him adrift from the battle for the win between Marcy and Energetic as it was initially. We'll go on board with Slumpcon. He's on the medium tyres, and we're coming towards what I think is the trickiest corner on the track, turn 8. It's a sort of a heavy braking zone, but it's fourth gear. You've really got to flick the car in. Easy to flick the car in too early or too late, and either severely compromise turn 9 and you run all the way down the straight here, or cut the corner and go invalid. Now, turn 10, nice and flat in a Formula 1 car, no problems for this generation of machinery. And then again, that turn 11, you let the car run really wide. You want to bring the car back to the right side, pick the throttle up nice and early, use fifth gear, and you can almost floor that. But Slumpcon drifted some way from that second apex, and he has another moment of oversteer on the exit of 12. This is 13, and then 14 again. So we saw early on, very wide entry, then you pick up a late apex to keep the car to the outside of the track for the last corner. Unlike Ben Scott, he does have managed to avoid that last curb, and we'll see where he goes. I think it's going to be a very good time considering he's on the mediums, and it is a 31.5, but on the medium tyre. ERS Major, though, has done a 31.3. He's now cutting the track to get back to the pits, which is not something you should be doing. But we've got a nice mix of tyres and times here. But still, those two Alpines, half a second to the good between themselves and Jamie in P3.
Yeah, looking pretty good already for those two Alpines. As you mentioned, a pretty decent gap. Just watching Ricky across the line there in the Williams. Still quite far off of Just Game's second lap on those soft tires. They're not going to be exactly ideal as he invalidates through turn 2. But was able to improve on his second lap there. Joseph, I believe, is coming to the line, just heading through the final sector right now. There is a Mercedes in front of him. That's going to be Marcy, but he is heading into the pit lane on his set of medium tires. Just commentating on anyone on the mediums right now. Jamie and ERS Major split by only a few hundredths of a second, but ERS doing 2 laps on those medium tires as Harry F is now out onto the track. In P2 currently is Joseph coming across the line in the Ferrari at 29.8, so exceeding some of my expectations at least so far, especially based off those first times, and puts himself quite far up the order and quite far in front of Ben Scott there.
So yeah, I was saying low 30s, and Joseph has immediately called me out on that, and he's popped in a 29.890. So the spread with 8/10 of a second is his gap right now. We've got the intervals on, so top 12 covered by 8 seconds. But there is a bit of a cluster between Jamie, Major, and Liat, and then Slumpcon and Reardon as well. Quite closely matched. We're going to ride with Jav, and I think Jav is an interesting one. I think he could threaten some podiums and race victories this season. He looked quite competitive at Imola last week, although things didn't necessarily fully go his way. But he was very committed, married to the idea of qualifying on the mediums last week. He seems to be doing the same again. Did a slow first lap on the softs, and now he's going to seems to be going for a proper run on the mediums, and he's going to get a nice tow here from Swip. Actually, no, he's not going to get a nice tow. Swip is far too far ahead. Jav's going to get a little bit of benefit here now at the end of the straight, but only a few hundreds. He could have got over 1/10 there if Swip had let him catch up closer earlier on, but he's done nicely through the chicane. Had to oversteer a little bit, and Swip, that is a little bit cheeky, driven straight across the chicane to try and pick up Jav for a second tow. I see you there, Swip, and well, I would refer that to the stewards, but again, interesting darting out of the way there from Swip. We've got a Red Bull pulling over to the track in Sector 3, but that's going to cause no trouble to Jav. And Jav, I think this could be a good lap, although I say that he's walked very wide of the apex there at turn 12. He's going to have to oversteer to crank the car back round. Just a couple of corners ago now, 14 and 15, and he goes very wide at the last corner. That Sector 3 has been a bit of a horror show for Jav, but it's going to be a competitive time nonetheless, and it's a 31.6, and I dare say if Jav hadn't made such a meal of Sector 3, he could have been in P5 right now.
Yeah, it was looking to be a good lap there from Jab, but just a few mistakes, maybe just not cooling the tires down enough at the beginning of the lap to save him for Sector 3, causing him quite the issue there, going a little bit wide at turn 12, as we saw, but turn 12 is such a difficult corner to do while on this game. Turn 15 as well, just a little bit too wide. I think he took missing the apex curb a little bit too seriously, but we have Sir Ibo to cross the line currently. 8.8 seconds improvement. It's a 132.8 for Ibo, and will move himself in front of Ricky, and then proceeds to invalidate at turn 1. Very nice there. Jess crossed the line and will move into P11, and there was an Alpine just across the line there. I think that was Harry, yeah. Improvement on the time, I believe, up to a 130.3, but still 0.4 of a second behind Joseph as the other Alpine jumps his teammate in Ben Scott, and it's a 130.0.
Found half a second there, Harry, and then, as you say, bigger improvement for Ben Scott. They're within 1/10, but the fact that they're still 1/10 behind and Joseph has got his second run to come, or his last run to come, is still very ominous for the Alpines. They need to pull it out still in the bag in the last lap, but they've got a huge gap now back to Swips, 0.7 of a second in hand. Someone has just popped above. That's Energetics. He's gone to P12 on the mediums, our championship leader. On the medium times at 32.6, not quite on the pace of some of the medium times we've seen so far. And Jav cut the corner at turn 1. I am wary of this. I don't know where you stand, Packer, but on drivers cutting corners in laps and out laps, or to try and give slipstream, it's not something I look fondly on. I'm not sure it's something drivers should need to be explicitly told. You can't do that. But we're seeing lots of it in D5 today, particularly, as it seems, from the two Aston Martin cars.
Yeah, not entirely sure what's going on in that Aston Martin camp, but I could see maybe doing it to get out of the way of drivers on hot laps, especially as you get to the very end of a qualifying session when most of the drivers will be out on track, and it does get a little bit crowded, especially on a shorter circuit, maybe a street circuit as well. I could understand cutting a few corners just to let people by. I did that in Division 1 at turn 1, just kind of let 2-3 drivers go, and then I was back on my way and on my in-lap, but to give slipstream, I could understand maybe a penalty being applied as Ghost Recon crossed the line in his Alfa Romeo to go P4 and onto the second row of the grid. And just as I say that, Axel puts in a quick time just after him onto the second row of the grid in P3, a 130.286 for the Williams driver.
ERS Major looks like he's on a big lap as well. He was our quickest driver, ones who'd set medium times in the first run, but he comes straight into the pits. But he was up in Sector 2. But yeah, great laps from Ghost Recon and from Axel, worthy of a shout out. Ghost Recon, though, that was his second lap on that set of tyres. And it was something we'll talk about, Packer, is just how awful these softs are. Within 2 or 3 laps, they are not a nice tyre. They are not kind to you. They overheat for one, and they drop off. They degrade like crazy. The drop off on the time on the tyre is insane. And Ghost Recon is going for it on his in-lap again here. Only 8 tenths down. So he's put an outlap through this tyre, 2 fast laps. And then he's putting quite a pacey in-lap through it as well. So these tyres are going to be pushing 9, 10, maybe 11, 12% by the time they come back in the pits. If Ghost Recon goes invalid or doesn't improve on his last run, he's going to have to start the race on those tyres. And all I can say is I don't particularly envy him. Something to watch as well is that pit entry, which you should stay to the right of the white hand, the solid white line. Stay to the right hand side of that. Ghost Recon did a perfect example of what not to do there, cutting straight across the white line, but it's in qualifying. No one was around him, so I don't think too much harm was done, but that's something we should keep an eye on for the race. But yeah, Recon, he needs a big lap on his 3rd lap so that he doesn't have to start the race on those tyres.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have to put in a good lap there. He still has 3 tenths-ish in front of him to Harry F, so if there's not much more time in that lap, just try to get a small improvement. And as I say that, he's retired early once again here in qualifying, so Ghost Recon content with his tires there. I was just watching on board with Slumcon. He's come into the pit lane to possibly get a final run in here in qualifying, but he was up just around a second heading through the middle sector split. A few mistakes in the final sector, and I think he's decided to ditch that lap there. Ben Scott also retiring here quite early, so maybe saving a set of softs for the race. I'm not sure if there's rain to come, possibly, or just looking for a possible 2-step strategy. Soft, medium, soft, I guess, would be the decision there for the current Alpine leader. But we still have we still have 2 minutes and 20 seconds left for drivers to improve. And obviously, if you cross the line before the checkered flag falls, you do get that one more lap. Current pole sitter in Joseph is out on track, just letting the Aston Martin of Jav through, but I believe Jav is on an outlap as well. So Joseph looks to be one of the first drivers out here on track. I believe there's an Alpine. That's going to be Harry F, and I think he's going to be the first driver to start his final flying lap.
Well, actually, we've got Ibo on a lap right now, so we'll show no disrespect to Ibo. Ibo is going to be the first man to complete his final lap. He's in P15 right now with a 32.8, 7 tenths off Jess Gamer. But I think you're right. I think very much that's a conscious decision for Ben Scott and Ghost Recon to keep a set of tyres for the race, a set of softs, for a 2-stop strategy. If anyone in D5 is watching right now, the pit lane loss here is it's big, isn't it? It's about 24, 25 seconds. It's bigger than, it's more than average, anyway, for pit lane loss. 1 stop is quicker. You don't want the 2-stop. But we got an Aston Martin that seems to be round at turn 8 there, as Ivo now comes towards the final corner to end his final flying lap. Has a couple of bites at the last apex, doesn't quite get the car straight as he intends to, but now just blasts it to the line, and he does a 33.2, so no improvement for Ibo. Jav is just starting his lap now. Alex Illiot is in the first sector. Arias Major, who abandoned that last attempt, he's now hurtling down the Mistral straight. He's 4 tenths up on his PB after the first sector. It's going to be a big chicane here that he needs. He's very much within a shout of pole. Misses the first apex a little bit, as Joseph is disqualified from the session for heading the wrong way on track. He's going to start this race from last place. And indeed, there you see on the timing tower, relegated to the bottom. ERS Major, meanwhile, 6 tenths up on his PB. Very much within a chance here of going into the front 2 rows of the grid. But Packer, what on earth was Joseph doing there? We weren't on board with it. We were on board with ERS Major, but what a calamitous decision from the Ferrari driver to drive backwards on track somehow and get himself disqualified.
Well, on the track map, he was around the runoff at turn 1, so I'm not entirely sure what exactly was going on down there. I was personally on board with Harry F, who was unable to improve on his time, but I think might just be going for it again. ERS Major, though, as you were following previously, goes up to the front row of the grid with Joseph's disqualification. Would have only been good enough for P3 without the Ferrari driver dropping down to the back of the grid. Axel's on a lap currently. There's a driver coming through the final sector right now. Harry F is not going to be going for it once again. Swip has come into the pit lane to retire, Alex Lilliard is done, and so is Energetics. Jamie has backed off. Riordan heading through the final sector. That Mercedes has backed off. That was Ibo. So we have Riordan, the next driver to come across the line. Currently, P11 could be quite the favorable position to start in if you are looking to do that alternate strategy and not start on the soft tires. But Riordan looking for that position on track. P5 he goes up to in his Ferrari. McLaren crossed the line, but that was just unable to improve. Jav has backed off, so I think that might just be it for qualifying, besides Axel coming through the final corner right now.
Yep, just Axel's got that short run to the line. Well, actually, it's quite a long run to the line, but here we go. What's he going to do? He's a 30.044 pole for the Williams man by 16 thousandths of a second from Ben Scott. Ben Scott, who was there by default after Joseph was disqualified, he's bumped back down to B2 by the Williams man. So we've got Axel, Ben Scott, ERS Major, Harry, Reardon, Ghost Recon as our top four. Championship leader Energetics starting in the worst possible place in P10. Not good at all. And if anyone was interested in P2, in Division 2, we've got Rudy on pole from XL. Gary, that's your front row. So that's very exciting in there also. But yes, Axel, the Greek, on pole with a 30.044, 16,000 second from Ben Scott, and then 84,000 behind ERS Major in his first race of the season. So three drivers split by a tenth at the top. Then 7,000 split Harry in P4 and Reardon in P5. Ghost Recon is 6. Swip is 7. Then half second back we find Alex Lilliard in Haas on P8. Jamie is P9. And then Energetics, who qualified on mediums, is in P10, our championship leader winner at Imola. Slumpcon is in 11th. Jav is in 12th, both also tried to qualify on mediums. Jess Gamer is 13th, Ibo is 14th, Ricky is 15th, Marcy is 16th. We've not mentioned him because he didn't manage to set a valid lap. And then, of course, Joseph, who would have been on pole, was disqualified from the session. And Joseph did a 29.890, didn't he? He was the only man to get into the 29s, and then that lap was stripped away from him for heading backwards at turn 1.
Quite the interesting way to get disqualified, I would say, there for Joseph. He would have been a pretty decently comfortable pole position there for the Ferrari driver, but now starting at the back of the grid, P17. So it's going to be interesting to watch him as well as Marcy in the Mercedes to come from the back of the field and possibly get up to the front, depending on how this race goes in terms of safety car strategy as well. And they should, well, you would think they would be on the favorable strategy, but as we saw some of the other divisions, it's kind of difficult on the alternate strategy to get through the rest of the drivers, especially if you're all grouped up and nice and together.
It's also quite difficult to know what the alternate strategy is, particularly as D5 are fond of the two-stops. So in that case, what is the alternate strategy look like? We could probably see a mix of normal inverted one-stops, normal inverted two-stops. So there could be an array of strategies here. All I will say is I don't think we're going to see any weather at all because of Ben Scott and Ghost Recon's retirements, presumably to save a set of softs. I think it's confirmation that we're not actually going to see any wet weather. Top 9 all on softs, as they are obliged to do for qualifying on that tyre and getting into the top 10. Energetics on mediums for the same reason. Slumpcon, Jav on medium, Ibo, Rikia, Marcy and Joseph all on medium. Jess, the only person to go for hards. And Jess did do this, didn't she? At COTA in pre-season, she was one of only 2 drivers with, I think, Marcy to go for a one-stop. And if people are going two-stop again today, presumably if you're going on hards, you are going to one-stop it if you go on hards at any point. So Jess could be in a good position here. She does make one-stop work if she goes hard, medium or hard, soft. She's going to cut 25 seconds off her race time there because she's not having to make that extra stop.
Yeah, exactly. Those hard tires, especially the hard to medium strategy, is quite favorable.
Not for us, but...
not necessarily for us or for a certain Dylan or Rocco having a certain Aston Martin in the way, but hopefully having Jav in the Aston Martin just in front of Jess won't be too much of a hindrance for her. But looking forward to this race, I would say for Jess, on a decent strategy if she is looking for the hard to medium strategy. Everyone else outside the top 10, but also including, well, everyone outside the top 9, really, bar Jess, on those medium tires, you could do a multitude of different strategies. You could do a medium soft if you're looking for a two-stop. A very risky strategy would be a medium soft, or you could also do the opposite and do a medium hard, and then everybody in the top 10, soft to medium, soft to hard, soft, medium, soft. Either way, soft, medium even. Either way, you really want to look at it.
My brain fizzled out there with all the softs and the mediums and the hards. I could not process that, but I'm going to preempt you here, and I'm going to say Ben Scott will redeem himself. He's going to take victory. ERS Major will be second. Ghost Recon will complete the podium. So, we have 17 drivers pulling into position with all three tyre compounds represented on the grid there. It's going to be Axel on your right, pole position for him. Ben Scott is on your left with ERS Major and Harry tucking in just behind them. We've got 3 lights, 4, 5 now. And Jav's jumped the start, and 2 people have jumped the start, and we're underway. And Jav surges into the lead with a drive-through penalty. Axel and Ben Scott are neck and neck away, and I think Ben Scott might just have the lead there, coming around the outside of turn 1, and he nearly clips the Williams, and he does clip the Williams. He's punted round by ERS Major, and Alex Lilliart is sent spinning as well. Sorry, not Alex Lilliart.
Ghost Recon and Harry as well.
Yeah, it was Ghost Recon, sorry. I thought it was a Haas. It's actually one of the Alfa Romeos that's gone round. And in the process, Jav and Ben Scott have got a huge lead. We've got a Ferrari going side by side in the background. Although one of the McLarens there. Jamie's pinched on the apex up against Swip. Bizarre first lap. Joseph in all of that has gone from 17th up to 9th. He's going to get another place when Jav comes in for his drive-through penalty, and here comes Slumpcon side by side with Reardon down the Mistral straight, and is Swip going to make this 3 wide towards turn 8 here? And I think he might do. Is Swip going to try and get this move done? And he's not spun around. Normally the car on the inside gets spun around there, but Swip survives just about. Reardon has to keep a watching brief. Joseph is now up into 8th. He's getting another place from Jamie. Cracking start from our would-have-been pole sitter, but out in front, Ben Scott has truly checked out. He has got a 1.4 second lead from Jav, who's in turn is 1.1 seconds back ahead of Alex, and then another 1.6 seconds to Energetics. Energetics started 10th. He's now P4 on the mediums that he started on, as Jamie's having some dramas as well there at turn 12. Couple of cars off track. He's got Marcy going up his inside. Again, Marcy, another one who didn't set a lap in qualifying. Marcy's now up to 9th as well. It's all topsy-turvy here. We've got 3 cars into the pits. Jav's in for his penalty. Ibo's in. Reardon is in. But I'll hand over to you, Pack. Ben Scott, at the end of lap 1, has a 3.3 second lead.
Slump and Swip going side by side through turn 1 and 2. Slump on the outside of turn 2. A little contact between the Haas and the Aston Martin. The Aston Martin being on the inside of turn 2, not exactly ideal for him. And now he's been spun back down to P14 as he tries to find his way and try to cool down those tires to get back into this race possibly. But the two Aston Martins not exactly looking too happy so far. Sir Ibo as well had a drive-through penalty, jumping the start with Jav, and then Riordan pitting for a set of the hard tires, possibly picking up damage on that very hectic and chaotic first lap there. But it is Ben Scott who leads from Alex Lilliart in P2. I'm going to get up the position change graphic. We have Ben Scott up 1, Alex up 6, Energetics and Slipcon up 7, Joseph up 12, Marcy up 10 with the little gap as ERS meter going around the outside of turn 10. That's dangerous, or not dangerous, that's brave from the Alpha Tauri, who's already lost 3 positions on this in this race and trying to get some of them back. That's going to be him up into P6. Marcy has Harry F up the inside of him into turn 12 as well. A little bit of contact. Now Harry F will barge his way through on Marcy. So Marcy losing 2 positions there in just around 3 corners. Not exactly looking too good for him, but still up 8 positions from P16.
Not too content with 1 bump, Harry decided to give Marcy 2 at turn 12 there. And I have to say, from ERS Major, that was a gutsy move around the outside. But to be honest, I don't think it was legal. He was off the track when he completed that overtake, but that would be up for Marcy to report that night, and I doubt he will. But Major completed his overtake off the track. Pardon my pedantry. 4.2 seconds up front between Ben Scott and Alex Lilliart. Energetics now up 7 places, just is within DRS range. We have DRS enabled now, and they can walks very wide off the track there, and that's going to cost him a little bit of time. He's in DRS range though. He's still going to reel Alex in nicely down straight, and Slumpcon is going to be dragged along for the ride. But we've still got this interesting battle going on between ERS Major, Harry F, and Marcy. And something else we've not mentioned is ERS management is going to play a factor in this race because it's very easy, very quick to deplete as well. And we've got Ghost Recon and Axel. Axel started this race on the front row. He's now in P10, or in pole position rather. And all further up ahead, Marcy had a big swipe out to have a look at Harry F. And then Harry F has put that into the wall and reset to track. I think that was automatic by the game, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. That was like an automatic reset to track. But Harry is in 12th now, slid off the track. But all he can say is he's not the first one. And what are you looking at there, Packer?
Just looking at Harry F having another little slide out of turn 11 as well. Those tires not exactly happy.
Yeah, they're going to be over. They could even be in the orange, in the red, depending on how extreme that slide was. ERS Major, though, and Marcy are going to continue the fight that Harry has vacated. And ERS Major's defending left, he's defending right. He's got nothing to defend with now, though, because Marcy's got that DRS advantage safely through into turn 1. Marcy completes move. We've got a yellow flag, and that's Slumpcon who's now facing the wrong way round. Another spinner. Energetics now has a penalty in P3. It's been a calamitous first few laps from Division 5 here, as Slumpcon lets everyone go before rejoining the track sensibly enough. Harry F is into the pits. He must have some kind of wing damage, so maybe he did reset the track manually there. But the big battle on track now is between Alex Liart, Energetics, and Marcy for P2. This train now 5 seconds behind Ben Scott. And I'm wondering, Packer, humour me here, if this could be Ben Scott's last race in Division 5.
Well, he's put together 2 impressive performances in qualifying, but Imola, obviously, as we mentioned earlier on in qualifying, not exactly up to his standard. I would have, well, I can assume for Ben Scott, a few incidents as well, a little bit of a little unlucky there for Ben Scott, but has taken advantage so far of his situation here in France and has gone and jumped out to that 4.8 now, second lead, losing a little bit of time maybe through turn 12 there. But Alex Liart and Energetics, Joseph, Marcy, the entire field falling away from the race leader.
Very much so. 5.4 now as they come across the line. ERS Major's into the pits. Early stopper, so ERS Major's very much going to commit to the 2-stop. We'll see what tyres he puts on. I'll put the tyres back on the timing tower there. But so that means it's, well, still Alex Liart, Energetics, Joseph is the close battle. Energetics not making too much progress, but then Alex Liart gets very out of shape on the exit of turn 2. With Energetics going to send this now into 3. It's a very short braking zone. You take that in 4th gear. Alex Liart was far too generous in the amount of space he left there for the Red Bull driver. He's left him out of shape through turns 4 and 5, and now through 6 and 7 as well. Energetics can just bide his time and wait for the opportune moment as they let the cars go down the Mistral straight. But look at the exit Joseph's got here. Joseph, who started in last place, he's got a tremendous exit off turn 7, and he's going to slide his way past Energetics to the left, then to the right of Alex Liart, takes it round the outside. Beautifully done, Joseph. Take a bow. Man started 17th. He's now up to P2, and hopefully we're going to have a battle for the lead, although he is 6.4 seconds behind now. But beautiful stuff from Joseph there.
Yeah, Joseph looking really competitive here early on, especially after the chaos of lap 1, able to make his way up to 2nd place, and what would be the race leader if Ben Scott wasn't in this race on lap 5 already. So what is that, 15 positions in just under 4.5 laps? Quite impressive there for Joseph. He's now up into P2. Alex Liart still struggling though, struggling for a little bit of a pace. Maybe those softs aren't exactly up to great for Alex Liart's liking. Ben Scott into the pit lane though, off of his soft tires. Alex in as well. Joseph will obviously continue on. Oh, Joseph's almost into the wall there at the final corner, and now Energetics is going to retake this position. Joseph up into the race lead, but will lose it almost as quickly as he got it. Energetics now up into P1 with Ben Scott coming into the pit lane. Energetics a little bit timid going into turn 1. Joseph looking all over the back of that Red Bull, but nowhere to go after those first 2 corners. Looking to the outside here for 3. Energetics will give him the room, fair play, and Joseph is going to be able to make that move.
Well, Joseph, he'd driven a flawless race to that point, and then almost as we said it, he goes and makes a colossal error that handed the lead straight back to Energetics, but he had the nous to get that position back, and he's covering off some fresh air there to defend from Energetics as he's got DRS back. Energetics on 91% ERS, Joseph on 30%. So Energetics biding his time, I think, more so than the drivers around him. We'll put the gap on gap to leaders so we can see how that gap evolved between Ben Scott and Joseph. It's currently 40.8 seconds. Slumpcon nips ahead of Jescaven down the main straight, but we have now got a very close battle for lead, and these guys need now to work together. Joseph and Energetics, they can't afford to squabble too much because Ben Scott is 40.8 seconds behind. They've got a bit of a chance here if Ben Scott's held up by some traffic, potentially to make bigger gains, try and eat into that lead a little bit. Ben Scott's gone medium, so he's very much committed to a two-stop here, as I think the rest of these guys will. But it's going to be an interesting one to see how that gap evolves. 40.8, just keep an eye on it. Ghost Recon is into the pits, and Energetics nearly doing what Joseph did the previous lap. They had a bit of a slide out of the last corner. We've got a yellow flag. That is Ibbo is round. Ibbo's round, exactly where Harry F lost it, just at turn 11.
Yeah, unfortunate mistake there for Sir Ibbo. Maybe the tires just let it go just a little bit after his drive-through earlier on. Just up in the front of the field now, Joseph and Energetics up are the top two. Marcy's been able to get back into this battle after their battle with Alex Lillier. Energetics far off the track. There is the Red Bull driver. But now, as we are on to lap number 7, only 2 soft runners remain out of the 9 that started this race. Jamie and Swip in P4 and P5. It's Marcy making his way past Energetics after that mistake coming through turn 6. I think that's going to be a good move there for Marcy, able to take that defensive line on the exit. Joseph has another slide from the rear end of that Ferrari, so not happy with the rear end of his car there, and it's going to be that's going to be quite something to watch there for Joseph as we get later on into the race. But also just to comment on strategy very quickly, Ben Scott is caught up to the back of Swip quite swiftly here, within DRS range now as we're on the lap or through the middle sector split. But he's going for that two-step strategy, soft and medium so far for Ben Scott, as well as Alex Lillier in P11.
And he's past Ricky now as well. 8 tenths he's taken out of Joseph on this lap, so he's just increasing his lead right now. It's going to be close to 7, maybe 8 seconds by the time these guys come in, because presumably they're not going to be coming in any time too soon. Less than a second splits our top 3 right now, and still Energetic is just biding his ERS. He's on 92% down the main straight. Marcy on 3%, and he's going to try now on Joseph into turn 1. Joseph doesn't want to fight this too hard, does he? Actually, he does. He holds it around the outside and then nearly come to blows. Marcy squiggles a little bit. And they're still side by side on the run down towards turn 3. The track kinks left and Marcy just comes out on top there. He has the lead into the braking zone of turn 3. Jamie's in the pits from the midfield there, but all over the back now. Joseph is hustling Marcy through this complex of corners. Energetics not really sticking too close, just keeping a watch on these guys. Marcy with no ERS at all, really, on 4%. It'll be 0 by the end of it. Still trying to use his overtake and hope he gets something out of it. He covers the outside line just in the braking zone. Not too naughty from Mercedes there, but he has a squiggle on the exit this time. He drives just struggling for traction a little bit. Those tyres will be starting to go. Slumpcon and Rikia further back are trading posts, but we'll just keep an eye on this one for now, because Joseph's took a much tighter line through the flat-out turn 11 there, and is he going to send this into the hairpin? No, he's not. He holds back. He just waits, counts his chickens, doesn't let them hatch for now. Energetics is very much not counting his chickens. And Energetics, I say that, he goes straight off the track. And that's not the first time we've seen that happen. So Energetics has been doing that a lot at the start of the Mistral straight. He's been running very wide. Joseph now taking some weird lines through turns 14. These top 3, Joseph nearly loses it at the last corner again. A lot of little sloppy unforced errors in this top 3. Energetics, that was completely unforced. He was nowhere near Joseph in front of him. Not enough to be distracted, and he just walked the car straight off the track.
Fastest lap now for Ben Scott, only 10.4 seconds behind Energetics, who's a second and a half between the top 2. Broken from DRS now is the Red Bull driver. Joseph, even with his mistakes so far, still in a pretty decent position here. A net P3 as of right now for the Ferrari driver, using his ERS. Marcy staying off the button for a little bit, able to cure his addiction of ERS usage just for a little bit by straight under that button as Joseph closes to within 0.2 of a second. Ooh, almost contact between the two race leaders. Joseph turning in a little bit early. Marcy still on that apex on the inside line, unable to turn in quite yet. Otherwise, he would have picked up a warning there on the inside of turn 8, but Marcy now derating as we head into the final sector down towards turn 11 into this very, very long right-hander as Sir Ibo has had another spin down at turn 1, but Joseph up the inside of Marcy is headed as we on the exit turn 11 up towards turn 12. Marcy goes quite a bit wide, misses the apex. Joseph with the switchback is able to get on to the outside for turn 13, but is not going to be able to keep it side by side, and the ERS between these two still slowly draining for the pair. Joseph takes a wide line in the final corner, unable to get a good enough exit, but is able to keep it on the track for the time being. But Energetics in all this battling has been able to close up a few tenths of a second, but since he has 90% ERS, Joseph looks to the outside of Marcy into turn 1. Marcy goes a little bit wide, but there was enough room left there by Joseph. A little contact between the top two, but now they're going to be going side by side down towards turn 3. Joseph on the inside, Marcy on the outside. Joseph is going to squeeze him out through turn 4, and I think he's going to get that move done. But now, once again, they're going to go side by side. Once again, I would imagine down the Mistral straight and down towards turn 8.
Yeah, I think Marcy's going to get this straight back. He was very generous with the amount of space he was giving Joseph through some of the final corners. He overshot a little bit. Turn 12, he just defended where he did not need to defend. But he's got a chance to get this back now. But his ERS is letting him down because Joseph just has a shade more. Only 18% for Joseph, but it was enough that he had a little bit in hand that he could defend with. And I think it speaks volumes with Energetics' pace. So we'll just quickly look at Slumpcon passing Jav there. The Energetics was watching these guys squabble, and as soon as they get anywhere near just straightening out and just following each other around, Energetics just drops off. He can only stay with them when these guys are battling like crazy. As soon as they just follow each other through processionally, Energetics just drops back. He did fall back as far as 1.7 seconds on the last lap. He's brought back to 1.2 now. But he is struggling, Energetics, to stay with this. He's counting on these guys battling, I think, to make it work. He's having to, well, if I say having to use his ERS, he's not using his ERS at all. He was on 100% in the last corner. And does he not realise his overtake is there to be used? Because it's all a good saving. But, when's the point where you start using? Because he could use now and gain big. He could get ahead of both these guys, and he'd have enough in hand to break DRS potentially as well if he got his foot down. But as it is, he's just waiting and watching, and I feel like it's possibly starting to cost a little bit. We'll go drip back and look at Ghost Recon and ERS Major through turn 1. Ghost Recon just slips ahead. ERS Major not close enough to try and fight anything back towards turn 2. He'll bide his time for the DRS straight that's going to come up in a few corners' time. But it remains as you were up front. Joseph, Marcy, Energetics. Joseph defends, and Marcy's going to go very late. He pulls out to the inside, has a look, not close enough. But I'm sure he gave Joseph a bit of a Halloween fright there, did Marcy. But for all of that, he's still half a second behind, and he's still using his ERS. He only has 3% in hand to use.
Yeah, Energetic using a little bit of ERS on this lap, a little bit out of turn 7, down to 86% as we head through turn 11, or as the Red Bull heads through turn 11. Marcy in P2 just following and Joseph in behind, but I'm sure that battle is going to be the talk of the town if once we get to the end of this race, battling for what is net P2, I think, depending on where Alex Lily Art stands, as well as ERS Major and Ghost Recon, who has pit as now Marcy from second place into the pit lane. Joseph, Energetics both stay out. Energetics deciding not to use his ERS quite yet, but saving it up for the end of the race, I would believe, even though there are still 15 laps to go here in France, or once again, round number 2 of Season 7. Beginning of the season, I have to make a strong impression. I think Ben Scott's doing that very well so far.
Yeah, I think if Joseph and Energetics pit now, Ben Scott will have around a 10-second lead, possibly more than that, 10 to 12-second lead. So it's big stint for Ben Scott that he's making so far. I have to say, I'm not surprised Marcy pitted. I'm surprised Joseph and Energetics stayed out. Because, if you're going for a 2-stop, which I said I imagine most of the field will be doing, pit lap 11, for mediums, run another 11 laps to lap 22, then run 5 laps on the soft to the end, because that's about the usable life off the soft tyre, so staying out any longer, I think you risk sort of deviating from what would be the ideal two-stop strategy. As Marcy makes quick work of Ricciardo down the main straight there. And despite having made his pit stop, Marcy is straight back down to 8%, so he's already derating. After having made a pit stop, you do regain a fair amount in the pit stop, not a huge amount here, but you do regain some. But he has rejoined into traffic, so he's had to get past Ricciardo, and he's disconnected. He was on board as he went and goes. So, oh, well, that takes him out of the battle for P2. So it's firmly a fight now between Joseph and Energetics, and is either of them going to come in? No, they're not. Perhaps they're going for a medium hard, maybe they're going for a one stop, maybe they're going for a medium soft. The possibilities, Packer, are quite literally endless. But what's certain is we've got a yellow flag in the background. That's a Williams that's gone round. That's Axel, our pole sitter. Not gone well for him. Did go well for Ben Scott last week, did it, our pole sitter? And now Axel is suffering a similar fate this week as he gets out of Harry and Reardon's way. Pole seems to be a bit of a curse this season in Division 5, wouldn't you say?
Well, no wonder Joseph wanted to get disqualified in qualifying, I guess, is the way to look at that for him. Up into P2 or P1, out on track right now, so not exactly the worst idea to get disqualified in qualifying, I guess, when it comes to this particular situation. Joseph derating as he heads into turn 8 and picks up a 3-second time penalty as soon as I start saying good things about him. That is the commentator's curse, ladies and gentlemen, but still up in the lead of the race. Energetics with their 3-second time penalty as well, so things are not too bad for the Ferrari driver. Ben Scott still 8.6 seconds behind the top two. Jav 6.7 seconds behind Ben Scott, but yet to pit is the Aston Martin driver. Ghost Recon, I believe, should come out in a near net P2. Is in currently net P2. 6-lap old medium tires. They could possibly go to the end, just barely, just maybe, if your tire pressures are to the moon, let's just say. You can make it to the end, but it's going to be quite difficult for Ghost Recon to get to the end. So once again, 2-stop for him. ERS Major as well. Alex Lilliart. Rike has yet to pit. Marcy has just pit, but obviously disconnected in the previous lap. Joseph and Energetics swapping positions down at turn 1. Energetics look to go around the outside of turn 1, but Joseph able to hold it so far.
It's nicely done for Joseph that he didn't lose his head too much there. He just let Energetics run himself out of road and carried on in the lead. Paco, I don't suppose you'll be able to drop Marcy a quick invite, see if we can't get him back into this race.
I can look.
But Ben Scott, we've got a yellow flag. Here we're going slowly there to let people through. Ben Scott now 8.1 seconds behind the leader. When Marcy came out, he was 23.4. So pit stop is about 23 seconds here. Ben Scott's 8 seconds behind Energetics, so that's 15-second advantage that Ben Scott has now in this race. It's quite remarkable the progress that he has made on the first stint and now the second stint. And even if Joseph and Energetics do one stop, which is looking increasingly likely, we're past half distance now, even if those guys do one stop, Ben Scott has such tremendous pace, he could well make this work with a two-stop. And I'm going to interrupt myself because we've got Jav and Ghost Recon side by side through turn 10. Ghost Recon slips through. Jav had to lift off the throttle there. Jav having quite a low-key race in the middle of the field. The ERS Major's joining these guys in as well. Jav having no penalties will do him no end of good because he can jump ahead of Ghost Recon at the end and he can defend himself from ERS Major, who nearly runs into the back of him there at turn 12. Still no pit stops up front. Energetics and Joseph. And Energetics is going to go again here around the outside towards turn 1. I think he's far ahead enough now into the regular zone. He can make this move stick. And he does. Again, without touching his ERS. And I'm starting to wonder if Energetics knows where his ERS button is because he's not used it all race long. And Ghost Recon, fast lap of the race there, 33.852. And still in combat with Jav and Major. Major have to look at Jav there towards turn 1, but Jav's DRS keeping him safely at arm's length. Jav hasn't actually pitted yet, along with Energetics and Joseph, albeit he is 14 seconds off the lead. Further back, let's have a look at our little trains that we've got of drivers that have pitted. We've got Marcy still in AIs down 30 seconds off the lead now. Jamie's quite spread out. We've got a little bit of a train between Ricciardo, who also hasn't pitted, Harry and Axel, but further ahead, Major has now made that move on Jav and is freed up to have an attack Ghost Recon. I need to sneeze.
I would just like to say, it has gotten very, very, very dark in the last lap, because it went from almost completely sunny to almost completely overcast, it looks like, here in France. So possibly a little bit of weather to come at the end of this race. Maybe that's what Jess was thinking, starting on those hard compound tires. Not exactly going to plan for Jess, currently P16, but Joseph and Energetics on the mediums as well, doing their job. Still a little bit of sun, a little bit of clouds off in the distance as we head down towards turn 1 with the race leaders, but it is looking pretty overcast. Just over the circuit, a little bit of sun glare on the camera for Joseph. As Energetics and Joseph going side by side once again through 3 and 4. Joseph down the inside. Energetics tries to get the switch back, but Joseph on that defensive line is able to keep the position. But now Energetics is going to have the DRS. He has all the ERS in the world that he could possibly use. Joseph only has 16% and is using it, even though Energetics not exactly do anything about it. It looked like a little bit of rain there, but I think that might have just been my eyes.
I think it might have been, but you are absolutely right about it getting dark, so I think there is some rain coming potentially. So good spot there, Packer, and we're going to need to keep an eye. I've lost my timing intervals, which is an absolute joy. But I'd love to know can you see what the gap is between Ben Scott and Energetics now? It was about 7.2. Where does it stand now?
I have no idea. I lost about P1 to P7, my delta times.
Yes, I am in the same situation. Marcy now back with us is making some gains. He's passed Slumpcon. Slumpcon has passed Jamie as well. Double trouble for Jamie down the long straight there. And Axel and Harry F. And it is raining now. It is raining. It is fully raining. So the rain has arrived, and it's arrived very quickly. But the thing you don't want to do is pit too soon, because that will cost you even more time. So we're on board. Axel, Harry F. very close here through turn 11. Axel looked like he might have had the move on, and then had to dip out of that one. But it's going to be a test of bravery, really, now in these conditions to see who can hang on. And we've got Jav in. And this will have to get very wet very quickly for this to be worth for Jav. Either that, or his tyres have left him with absolutely no choice. He is going on to the intermediates, but that is early. And I dare say it's not going to work. We'll put gap to leader on so we can see how Jav fares compared to his peers. But we've still got Harry and Axel having another look at turn 1. Axel, and then has to correct mid-corner, runs wide of the exit of 2, picks up a penalty. And I think that's his first of the race. A pole sitter again, having a very, very tricky afternoon. Up front, Joseph and Energetics, quite fairly split now, 8/10 per second. And I'll tell you what, there's a problem for Energetics, because he's not used his ERS to either pass Joseph or to stay ahead of him. He's now lost that, because in the rain you can use all the ERS you like. You get it back very, very, very quickly. So Joseph has Energetics has played himself a little bit there, I dare say, by not making the most of his ERS. He's now lost any advantage he had for it, because Joseph is going to get it back quite quickly. Into the pits they come. Joseph first, Energetics second. Ben Scott now as well. Harry and Axel collide, and that
was always going to happen, especially on a damp track. Axel being on the inside of turn 11. And is that a safety car?
We have a virtual safety car. Full safety car.
Oh, full safety car.
And
so that's perfect for Joseph, Ben Scott, Energetics. That's perfect for everybody.
Jav will be kicking himself that he pitted when he did. Ibo takes opportunity to unlap himself. Slyly done by Hibbo, and I think they have now pitted the right lap. Raider gets a drive-through speeding under the SC. Not sure how you managed to do that.
Third driver with a drive-through this race so far?
Yeah, I think if you're on slicks in wet conditions, it's hard to imagine how you could ever possibly go too quickly. Although I did that in Singapore a couple of weeks ago and crashed at about 30 miles an hour. I managed to destroy my front wing.
Joseph almost goes round. Almost.
Yeah. So
Riordan has found himself with the drive-through and a set of soft tires. I believe that is a big mistake from Ferrari.
Yes, that is a Ferrari blunder there. That he's not going to be able to serve the drive-through on the safety car. He'll have to serve it when it comes back in. But so it has brought Ben Scott back into play. I think if the race had stayed dry all the way through, I think Ben Scott would have walked this race as it is. Well, he was going to have to box anyway, being on the soft tyre, so he couldn't have done anything differently really. But it is unfortunate for him all the same. We had a D2 race like this in France,
out.
and Ibo has crashed under the safety car in the wet on dry tyres. Why does that ring so familiar for me? But I was going to say
same place as Axel as well.
Yeah, just between tail and I was going to say Packer actually. We had a race like this, didn't we, in D2 a couple of seasons ago at France, where everyone who started, it was the other way around. Everyone who started on the alternate strategy was ruined by the weather, and everyone who started in the top 10 was saved. I think only one person. Oh no, it was the other way around. Everyone on the alternate strategy benefited greatly. I think Larkin won that race from 19th on the grid.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I remember seething.
Yeah, I think Larkin, was like 16, 17? Because I remember vividly, me and Rick Hurrick, who are currently, 1 and 3 in the championship, were on the back row that race.
Yes, I qualified third. It was me, Zaldimer, and someone else, I can't remember. Fighting for the win. And then we were royally screwed by some rain that arrived at an unfortuitous moment. We've got two trains here. We've got the Reardon train still going out on the soft tyres, but going so slowly he's not going to catch up to the safety car anytime soon, and it means that no one's really in a position to overtake him. Why is Reardon not pitted?
I am not entirely sure, but it does mean that we will get 3 full laps of safety car, driving behind the safety car. Then, if Riordan is unable to catch. So
yes, we could even get 4 depending when Ricky catches up.
Yes, Riordan's catching slowly, very slowly, but I think once he gets to the third sector and the first sector, that's about when he stops catching and starts losing time, especially through this section. Loses a little bit of time, but is it exactly gaining? Let's just say.
Yeah, he'll catch up down the straight quite significantly, and then as soon as he gets to a corner, that rate will slow. He's got Marcy Slumpcon, Jamie Swip, and Jess behind him. Jess wasn't quite able to make the most, was she, of starting on those hard tyres and run into the rain. It didn't seem to quite work out for her. No one else used the hards in this race. She's the only one who's done a stint on them. Although, no, that is a lie. I think Rick possibly pitted for them at the start of the race, or someone who got damage on that. Calamitous first lap did put the hards on. But all the same, it's not really worked out for Jess, has it? She's ended up in 14th despite not having to pit.
Yeah, unfortunate there for Jess. She was on a pretty decent strategy, but it seemed those mediums were still able to go to the rain period around lap 15, 16. So people able to conserve the tires enough and also have the pace as well. We're able to get up to the front of the field. Riordan has closed almost to within 10 car lengths, and now to within 10 car lengths of a Harry F in front of him. So we could get going, I believe, on the next lap once Ricky catches up to the back of Jess.
Yep, we're just waiting on Ricky, and the safety car will come in. We're going to get 8 laps of green flag action. At most, we could get a VSC or a safety car again in that time. We shall see. But to take stock of how the race looks right now, we've got Joseph, who leads from last on the grid. Energetics from second, from 10th on the grid. Ben Scott, who started in P2, is now in P3, but without a penalty, so he leads the race in that regard. Ghost Recon is 4th, ERS Major is 5th. Jav has fared quite well through this. He's now up to P6. We don't need to see the tyres now. He's up 6 places. He started P12 on the mediums, and he's now in P6. And without a penalty. So actually Jav right now is sitting pretty in a net P2. It depends how closely this train follows in the rain. We've got Alex Lilliard also without a penalty. Same for Harry, 7 and 8. Harry down 4 from 4th on the grid. Reardon then has a penalty, but that's a drive-through. He's in P9. And then we've got Marcy Slump, Jamie Swip, Jess, all penalty-free. And then Rick at the back, who has now caught up. So, weirdly, we're in an odd situation here. Normally, you see in these kind of races that the penalties are rear loaded, and by that I mean they tend towards the back of the field, and you see the penalty-free drives at the front. We've got the opposite affair here, which is an oddity, where all the penalties, all the 3-second penalties, are at the front of the field. 4 of the top 5, and then 1 of the remaining 11. As Ben Scott passes Energetics under safety car. Ben Scott has passed Energetics, and I'm sure that will be for the one for the stewards if it's reported. But bizarre. Yeah. But Energetics had backed off a lot, hadn't he? There was a big gap there between himself and Joseph.
Well, according to the rules, you're supposed to stay within 10 car lengths of the car in front of you, so about a second. Car length is just under 1/10 of a second in racing time. So, yeah, if you're over a second, then the car behind is usually allowed to pass, but usually the gap isn't a second. Joseph going quite quick here on the safety car restart. Safety car isn't quite yet to the pit lane, and Ben's got right on the gearbox of that Ferrari. Energetics once again leaving a big gap as Joseph's in AI mode. No longer in AI mode as Ben Scott almost goes around there at the final corner. Joseph trying to get the best exit possible and will be going off of turn 15 there. Ben Scott trying to follow him through, and I think it's going to be able to do that. Energetics Ghost Recon quite close together. ERS Major has not had the greatest of restarts as Riordan on the soft tires dropping down through the field. He's going to have to serve his drive through here pretty soon. Jess and Ricky pretty far off the back of the field as well. Not too many big gaps. Marcy, who was the driver right behind Riordan, so that makes sense as to why he has a 2.2 second gap in front of him, has also made a sort of a mess of turns 1 and 2, not exactly faring well in these wet conditions so far. Is Marcy currently P9 picking up 4 points as League of Europe top 12 do score points in this league. But Joseph's still up at the front of the field, doing quite well. A decent enough gap to Ben Scott. It's going to be very difficult to pass in the wet conditions, especially with no DRS and everybody being quite equal on ERS.
It's going to be a very nervous first couple of laps because, of course, they came into Inters under the safety car, so none of them have done any laps or corners in anger on these tyres in these conditions, with the exception of those guys who were then catching up at the back of the field. For the ones at the front, they came straight out of the pits and straight into the back of the safety car, but Joseph has handled this restart admirably. He leads by 6/10 of a second, but Ben Scott has just got to keep penalty free, which is, dare say, is easier in the wet than it is in the dry, and he has won this race. He will have redeemed himself for last week. Energetics 7/10 of a second behind, but will he report Ben Scott for that overtake under the safety car? We'll have to have another look at that in due time and see what the gap was and how big it was. But Energetics has slipped back a little bit. Ben Scott's round. Once again, Packer, we've cursed another driver, because I was just saying how much he looked like he was set to redeem himself for Imola, and so it was that he spun around into 10th place. Further behind him, look at this. Swip and Jamie were side by side there through the short dash between turns 12 and 14. And Swip has come out of that one ahead, and that puts Jav up into P5. Jav is 2/10 of a second outside of the net lead of this race. Joseph has clocked out up front, so I think it's gone. But Jav right now sitting in a net P2 as Ben Scott, to compound his woes, picks up a penalty. Yeah, it's easy when you're so close to the win to then just one mistake and suddenly everything goes wrong for you. Awful for Energetics there. We've got Joseph leading by 1.8 seconds now from Energetics and Ghost Recon, and Joseph well on his way to doing not just the last to first, but covering off any penalties, such as his pace advantage of Energetics, who is now finally using some overtake in the wet. Ironically, when you get it back very, very quickly.
Yeah, Energetics using his ERS to take advantage of Ghost Recon there. Ghost Recon a little bit lower on ERS than Energetics, getting quite close to turn 10, but unable to make an overtake. Energetics off the track on the exit there as we head into turn 11. Ghost Recon looking up the inside down to third gear just to get that rotation in the car. You're going to understeer, have quite a bit less grip, especially being in the dirty air and these wet conditions. It doesn't look like it's raining too hard, but the track is still quite wet out there after those few minutes of the intense rain period, so we could see it go dry once again, but I don't think it would be quite worth it to go back to dries as of right now. But it did get wet quite fast as we have a McLaren around. That's Jamie. Jamie with the 3-second time penalty as well. Riordan, just to say, is still out on the soft tires, which is an interesting decision for him. I'm not entirely sure if he started to drive through. It does look like he has, but way down in P15. Energetics now with 3-second time penalty. That's 6 seconds for the Red Bull driver. So last week's race winner doesn't look to be repeating here in France. Almost 3 seconds away from the leader as well. So not entirely looking good here for Energetics. Riordan has spun now through turn 10 and into turn 11, but looking back up to the front of the field, Joseph, the two Ferraris on the very opposite of scales here in France, as Ghost Recon has made a little bit of a mistake, and now ERS Major onto the back of the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, Ghost Recon had a huge moment there through turn 6, and ERS Major, he looks poised to send a strike up the inside of the chicane, and he does, but Ghost Recon goes very late, much braver on the brakes, holds it off to the Alfa Romeo, and I think we see now why Riordan decided to stay out the softs. He saw the rain was going to stop, but obviously did not work, and he is now coming back into the pits. But Ghost Recon has covered off ERS Major for now, but we'll see how that evolves. We've got a nice little trade for me behind Energetics. 3 seconds now off the lead of this race behind Joseph, and Energetics is going to drop quite considerably down the field right now with 6 seconds of penalties. He could drop as low as Alex Liart and Marcy, currently in P8, if he doesn't get a shift on, because he's not dropping this train of Major, Recon, Jav right now. Harry a little bit further back. Is anyone going to come in for dry tyres? Because, well, it's 23 seconds. So if you get to the end of next lap, softs have to be 8 seconds a lap quicker to get the time back. And once they're quicker, they are quicker. And it'll be very interesting if anyone does fancy rolling the dice and going for a set of softs, because with 3 laps to go, that could be all the time you need to gain back a pit stop.
I don't know if it'll be too worth it. Riordan just coming into the pits after his spin to get a new front wing and to get a new set of those soft tires. No DRS enabled quite yet for these drivers. Blue flags are showing on the boards for Riordan there. Jab in a really good position here. 4.8 seconds off of Joseph, but that does mean that he is within the gap of, or within Energetics and Ghost Recon's and ERS Major's penalty window. Quite low on ERS though is the Aston Martin. Riordan just slotting in between Ghost Recon and ERS Major there, now getting out of the way. Still sliding around those soft tires, so I'm not entirely sure if the dry tires will be making another appearance in this second round of the championship, but it does look as DRS is enabled, so that does clarify that the dry tires would in theory be faster. That's the official transfer window from the game, as Joseph picks up a 3-second time penalty. As of right now, that would lose him the race win to to Jav.
It would. Jav leads this race. That is remarkable to think that Jav from 12th on the grid, out of nowhere, stealthily leads this race. Energetics is in, Major is in, Ghost Recon is in, Jav's in. Jav hits the back of Ghost Recon. Has he got damage? Has Jav just thrown this race coming into the pits there? Joseph has stayed out. We've got 3 laps to go. And does Jav need a new front wing? Luckily he doesn't, but he did hit the back of, I think it was Major or Recon coming into the pits there. They're so close coming out of the pits. This is going to be so interesting now. Joseph has stayed out. Marcy has stayed out. Swip has stayed out. Riccia has stayed out. Jess has stayed out. But the softs are quicker and there's 3 laps to go. Oh, Packer.
I don't know.
And look, Energetics is so slow off turn 2 now, and Major's got to run at him down towards turn 3, and Major strikes through. Major's past Energetics, and that's into, well, a net P2. It could be a net lead. We don't know. It depends how quickly it comes towards the softs. We've got an Alpine round at turn 1, have we? A Williams? That's Ben Scott.
That's Ben Scott.
Ben Scott's made a mistake, and we've got Joseph. He leads by 6 seconds. Let's have a... Well, we've got the gap up to Energetics. It's 23.1. It's come down by a second so far. As it is, he's fine. But it's going to come down quicker and quicker and quicker. The rate at which Energetics is going to catch is going to accelerate.
Look how fast Riordan is pulling away. Riordan was well, down in the mid package at the beginning, mid of this race, as Riordan just spins, as I said that. But Joseph understeering off the track down at turn 12. ERS Major, all the soft tire runners trying to dispose of Ricky as fast as possible. He's dropped down 3 positions just in these few corners. Was there another driver off there? I'm not entirely sure. I don't think so. But yeah, Ricky already losing 3 positions on this lap. Jess Gamer now right in front of ERS Major. That's going to be 2 positions on this lap for ERS Major. Energetics looking to the back of Jess as well. ERS Major almost swipes the McLaren driver there in Jess, and now through the final corners we're on to lap number 26 for Joseph and Marcy and Swip. Jess into the pit lane now for a set of soft tires. I'm afraid that is 1 lap too late for the British driver there. ERS Major though, P4, 17 seconds in behind Joseph, the race leader. Only 8 seconds though to Swip, so possibly get onto the podium here. You still have to pull that 3-second gap, but only 2 laps to go here, and almost dismissed of one of those sectors already, and the gap isn't really coming down fast enough.
14.5. ERS Major needed to be around 8 seconds at the end of this lap, maybe less than that. There is going to be DRS here, so Energetics is going to get this move back. As we say, Slumpcon's made a move on Riccier, another one of those on the intermediates. Here comes Energetics, and he is finally using his DRS to make an overtake, and he's going to pull out to the left-hand side. He's going to get this move done into the braking zone. He's got the inside line. He just runs Major towards the edge of the track, gets the move covered, and I'm going to tell you, Packer, I think Jav has got damage, because look at how much he's fallen back from these guys since he's come out of the pits. In only 2 laps, he's fallen off by 3 seconds nearly, and Ghost Recon is through up the inside of Major. That's devastating for Jav that he's not hanging on the back of these guys. 9.9 now is the gap between Energetics and Joseph. This is going to come down to the last sector of the last lap, possibly a dive bomb into the last corner.
Swip almost going around there on the exit of turn 12 heading through 13, but we also have to remember Joseph has a 6 seconds of penalties, so they have to get past Marcy to get into this race lead, and they have penalties as well, most of these drivers. Swip getting in the way of most of these guys. Energetic, Ghost Recon, ERS Major all getting held up. Jab gets the easy let through from Swip. I think that's some playful tactics between the two Aston Martin boys as Energetics fastest lap of the race and makes it past Marcy. That's the race lead, or almost, for Energetics. I think he has 6 seconds as Energetics, so that's what Ghost Recon now up into third as well. Marcy still kind of in this. ERS Major is the lowest out of the drivers in the top 5 in terms of penalties on the dry tires. Marcy really wide there as Ben Scott sets fastest lap of the race on a 31.6. Marcy, you can see how much the intermediate drivers are struggling. It's only half a second between Energetics and Joseph here. This is for the race lead without penalties. Here, Joseph with Energetics with the DRS going to be able to make his way through and up into the lead of the race on track, and I think that's going to be almost going to do it for Energetics. But ERS Major still 2.8 seconds behind Energetics, so still could have a shot at winning this race. Joseph is really going to play a part in whether ERS Major can get into this, and I think Jav just a little bit too far away. I think Jav is... Wait, no. Jav is still in it.
He's still in the race.
Oh, no! Oh, that throws his race victory possibilities away. He can still get a podium, but he dispatches of Joseph. That might be more wing damage there for Jav. But heading through the final sector now, Energetics way off the track. Ghost Recon trying to stick with him. ERS Major trying to do the best that he can, but I think Energetics might just pull out a second win here at D5.
I think he is. If Energetics was looking like he wasn't even going to finish on the podium at one point, suddenly the man's winning the Grand Prix. He crosses the line. He takes the win from Ghost Recon in P2. Major's going to jump into second. Half a second, the margin in the end. Jav was winning the race until the last sector of the Grand Prix. And in the end, he's not even on the podium. Alex Liart is 5th. Slumpcon is 6th. Joseph, in the end, after doing nothing wrong all race, ends up 7th with the wrong tyre call at the end. Marcy 8th. Harry 9th. Swip 10th. Ben Scott, in the end, 11th after dominating the early phases of this Grand Prix. The fact that Joseph and Ben Scott have finished 7th and 11th tells you what a crazy race this has been. And I'm going to say, Packer, I told you so. I said it was worth thinking about coming in for some softs. You didn't think it was worth it, and I was proven right, as is usually the case. But Energetics wins the race from Major and Ghost Recon.
Wow, what a crazy ending there to this French Grand Prix. We didn't think there was going to be any weather at the beginning, but it ended up raining around lap 15, and then it went dry with 3 laps to go. So, yeah, crazy race in the end. Energetics will take it to win his second on the bounce here in Division 5. ERS Major will follow him home in second place, only one penalty less than the drivers around him for ERS Major, but still good enough to take home that P2. Energetics will take home driver of the day as well from what was P10 for the Red Bull driver. Ghost Recon will take home P3. Jab in 4th, Alex Hilliard in 5th, Slimcon 6th, Joseph in P7. Unfortunate, really heartbreaking there for Joseph. Drops from P1 to P7 in a single lap. Marcy P8, Harry P9 after a solid race from him, a solid race from Ben Scott, just a few mistakes. In the end, Swip will split the two Alpines in P10, and then Jamie will take home the final points position by only 0.03 of a second to his teammate in Jess Gamer in P13. Ricky will finish 14th, and Riordan will finish 15th, one lap down. Energetics will take home the win as well as the fastest lap, so 26 points coming Energetics way.
Fastest, the only man to do a 31 as well, bar Ben Scott in P11. So in the end, fastest lap, but only by half a tenth or so. But yes, Energetics wins, and from 10th on the grid. So we saw some sterling drivers today. Jav as well, Joseph from 17th, Marcy from 16th. And in the end, our front row did not fare very well. Neither of our front row finishing inside the top 10. And even from the second row, Harry F went from 4th to 9th. Major went from 3rd up to 2nd, though, so improvement for him. But let's see if we can get our podium finishes in the party. I know we'll have Energetics in because he was here last week, so we can add him in. Major and Ghost Recon hopefully will be able to join us as well. So, Packer, do you want to add those, or shall I?
I will get right on top of that.
Well, for the championship standings, at least at the top, that makes things very simple, doesn't it? Energetics with 51 points now from a possible 52. Very much, you have to say, a D5 title charge beckons for that man. And no dramas for him this week. He did have a little moment with Ocon on the first lap last week. Ocon Corrupt wasn't here, of course, today. But anyone from that race, Packer, that you think may be a stake to claim the challenge for victories? I think Ben Scott remains the obvious one. He's underperformed, partly through no fault of his own today, twice now. Joseph as well really threw himself in there. Anyone else that has piqued your interest today?
I think Marcy could be a good contender as well if he's able to get put together being a little bit smarter in the race, not using and abusing his ERS button as well. As maybe he was on a good strategy today as well, but obviously just unfortunate to get stuck behind Riordan on that safety car restart. Really didn't leave him with a chance to do much in the end there. But not really anyone besides that. Maybe Axel could be a good shout as well, qualifying on pole position, crashing out on lap 15 there. So a few drivers still in the hunt, but Energetics obviously looking to be the favorite, as well as Joseph and Ben Scott. They just have to put a few race performances together.
So we have got Ghost Recon in the party with us, and I can't see who the other person is because my PlayStation is being messy. But we'll start with Ghost Recon, the podium interviews. Congratulations on the podium. Just talk us through that race from your point of view. It was a bit of a mad one.
So the beginning part was pretty rough. I thought I got away from it, but I ended up being collected from it. So it was just pretty much just pick up the pieces, pick up as much positions as I can. Then the weather came into effect. I was actually really lucky for the safety car to pull out when I just enter the pits. So that I believe I got a free pit stop from that, and I was just trying to play the catch-up game.
I can't even remember thinking back more than 2 laps. So much happened in that race. But you've had a couple of good results now. I mean, you were 5th last week. Podium this week, and you had a really good race at COTA as well for pre-season. What are your ambitions for this season? Do you feel like you can put a title charge together?
That would be a plus, but I'm looking to show that I got some really great really good pace and showing what I can do. It's just more of trying to flex than anything.
I respect that. Just taking it race by race. We've got Portugal next week. Portimao. How does that stack up for you? Are you confident for that one?
Don't expect anything from me on that one.
I look forward to inviting you into the interviews for a dominant 20-second race victory, no doubt. Well, congratulations for your podium. Packer, do you have anything to add to Ghost Recon?
Well, I would just like to say thank you for carrying America here in France. The rest of the Americans, besides Maverick, didn't do too all right. P4 for Maverick, P3 for you. I'm not entirely sure where Cam K finished, but a P9 in Division 1. I think that was a solid weekend for America, trying to reclaim our best nation in the League of Europe.
Yeah. It's I wouldn't say much pressure there at all, but I'm really glad that everyone else who's waving our flag got some good results, and I'm just glad to be a part of that. But I just wish the best of luck of them with their seasons and their respective divisions.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations again. You're very much off the mark for Season 7. I can't see who else has joined us.
It's ERS Major.
It's ERS Major. So, congratulations again to you also. Take us through that race from your point of view. It seemed like you were in a lot of battles all the way through. You were really fighting for every position. Whenever we seemed to check in with you, you always seemed you were in a battle somewhere.
I hated it because I was, me and Harry collided at turn 1 at the start. We both span, and we were just trying to close up the pack. And after about 4 or 5 laps, my sauce were about 60%, so pitted, and then chaos with Ghost and stuff like that. And then it rained, safety car, got lucky, and then I was stuck on the last corner. I was stuck behind, I think it was an Aston Martin, and it annoyed the daylights out of me because I think I would have won it if I didn't get held up. I lost about a second or so. But yeah, it's annoying, but podium's a podium on your first race back, so I'll take that.
Yeah, it was a really strong result because it's obviously your first result of first race of the season. When the rain started, or rain stopped rather, did you have any thoughts of staying out as Joseph did, or were you always thought, I'm just going to do what everyone else does and come into the pits for softs? Or were you going to pit for softs regardless of what everyone else did?
Well, the issue with what I had was I was so close to the 2 cars in front that my logic was the leader's going to stay out no matter what because he'll be in front. But the 2 cars behind, I was going to copy them, and luckily they both ran wide and gave away what they were doing, so I just thought I'd do what they do. I got no teammate, so I dipped in and got lucky with the last lap.
Well, I think if you're in a situation like that, it's always beneficial to just play it safe and copy what other people do. You can't go wrong in that case. Portugal next week. How do you feel about that one?
I love Portugal. It's much better than France. France is awful. I hate the track. But Portimao, I love the track.
Do you think we could see you maybe fighting for top step pole position victory potentially? Is that something you'll be going for?
God no. I can't conserve my ERS to save my life.
Well,
I burn the ERS.
I was talking. Packer probably was getting annoyed with me on stream. The amount of times I was talking about how Energetics is ERS. He didn't use any for the entire dry section of the race, and I wanted to pull my hair out. So it's actually refreshing to see someone actually use their ERS in that context. Better to use it.
To be fair, when you are wheel to wheel with someone, you can actually look over at their dash, and I could see he was just never, his overtake button was never green. Not one time was it green, and I was he just seemed to have like 1-1 wings.
Perhaps he was conserving it for the last few laps or so, but in the end, when the rain comes, obviously you can use more ERS. But thank you for joining us, popping in. Packer, do you have anything to ask Major?
No, just would like to congratulate on, first race and a podium as well. 3rd place as well in qualifying, so congrats to that as well.
Thank you. Get in there.
Very well deserved. It was a great race from you. I think you had the best performance of all the podium finishes. You were here, there, and everywhere throughout that race. But that's where we're going to end the stream. And as I said, it's Portugal next week, so tune in for that one. I'm sure we're going to see all manner of drivers spin at turns 2 and turn 8 and various other corners. Does lend itself to that a little bit. We will talk about that at the time. But as I said, tune in. Energetics leads the championship. He has 51 points, almost a perfect score for the Red Bull man. And it'll be myself, presumably, if I'm still in Division 1, and QVR Packer to take you through it again. If not, I'm sure you'll be in very capable hands with Packer and whoever is alongside him. But thank you all for joining us. Been a pleasure as always. Thank you to my partner in crime, QVR Packer. Thank you to all the D5 drivers for putting on such a great show. And congratulations to our podium finishers, Energetics, ERS Major, and Ghost Recon. Until the same time next week, thank you and goodbye.